Hello and welcome to Transforming Masterclass with Dr. Karina Felix. I have a very interesting person that I am honored to have had as my friend for quite a long time, and being our first masterclass, as well as it being Nandini, who was also my co-host in the Meta Lifestyle magazine. This is like bringing us back to the beginning. But first, I want you to meet Nandini.
Nandini Gosine Mayrhoo, founder of Nandi, is nurturing the nature leaders of tomorrow. Her mission? To introduce children to the intelligence of nature and inspire future scientists, architects, teachers, and artists who will shape a better world through nature-based solutions. Her award-winning book, Nandi and the Music of the Plants, and engaging online lessons reveal the hidden wonders of nature. Nandini's visionary work reshapes children's education by blending nature, science, and creativity. She is dedicated to inspiring future generations of innovators by fostering a love and respect for nature. She guides educators and teachers on how nature-based education can shape tomorrow's leaders and create real solutions to our planet's most pressing challenges. Partner with Nandini and help foster a deep love for nature in our children. Learn more at nandimotp.org.
We are going to welcome Nandini right now. Hello.
Hi, thank you so much.
So happy to have you at my first Masterclass series. So thank you for accepting and for being here this morning. And we will not waste any more time, and I will just give you the stage.
Thank you. So hopefully now you're seeing my slides.
Yes, we can see your slides.
Okay, great. Well, good morning, everyone. I am Nandini, the creator of Nandi, a platform that reimagines children's education around nature. In contemplating the magic of sound, Reginald Holmes in his poem wrote, "Earth has its music for those who will listen." Here, I'm sharing some of Earth's music with this young lad, in particular, grass music, which led to some interesting questions from him, but more on that later. In the late 1970s, a spiritual eco-community called Damanhur in northern Italy began experimenting with ways of communicating with the plant world through music. The device that you see on the screen, that's the music of the plants, and it's the most recent iteration of Damanhur's decades-long exploration of not just listening to, but communicating with the plant world. With plants comprising over 80% of Earth's biomass, when I think of our Earth's music, as Reginald Holmes invited us to do, I can make little distinction between Earth's music and the plant music made possible by the music of the plants device. And as the author of the first children's book on the music of the plants, I have been exploring the meaningful role that this device plays in children's education. A few years ago, I heard a strange music. It was music created by the music of the plants. It's not an exaggeration to say that in that moment, my world shifted. I was sufficiently affected to create Nandi, a platform that reimagines children's education around nature, and to write the very first children's book on the music of the plants. I'm delighted to say that Nandi and the Music of the Plants is a distinguished honoree of the prestigious Mom's Choice Awards. And I've also just recently received a 2024 Parents' Picks Awards for Best Educational Product for Elementary Kids. You're very likely asking yourself the same questions that came to my mind when I first heard the music of the plants. How does this work? Who would create such a device? And what value does it have for the world? Very simply, the music of the plants translates the natural electrical impedance between a plant's roots and leaves into musical notes. The music you hear now is the music of a cherished plant partner, Gosine, who sits on my desk, my constant companion and guide. As I mentioned, the music of the plants was created by Daminher, which brings me to the other question I had. What value does this have for the world? Before I explore what I perceive to be its value, I invite you to contemplate what draws us to the music of our earth, or simply to music in general. Music is our universal language. Music connects us. Music is our first language. Musica universalis, or the music of the spheres, is a philosophical thinking that regards the movements of the celestial bodies as creating a form of music. Science is catching up with this philosophical thought. Matter vibrates. And what is music? Vibrations. My point is that we are music. Everything around us is music, but our Western conditioning has sadly disconnected us from this. But within us remains that deep knowing. Why did I feel the need to write a children's book? I realized that the deep conditioning that has resulted in our collective plant blindness prevents many adults from seeing this remarkable device as anything more than, at best, an intriguing thing with some entertainment value, or at worst, a trick device, because surely a plant playing music? Come on. Children, on the other hand, still possess that innate understanding that the world around them is a mystery waiting to be understood. A plant that plays music is a fascination that needs to be explored. Fortunately, with children, there is as yet no conditioning that makes them think that a plant playing music is not possible. In deciding to write a children's book, I thought of the books I had read in my own childhood. The world of fairies and elves, of animals who spoke to each other, became part of my childhood memories. Growing into adulthood meant that those worlds were not real, not something from which I could learn to craft a worldview that could serve any useful purpose in my adult life. In writing Nandi and the Music of the Plants, and in crafting fun, engaging lessons on what nature teaches us, I aim to give children valuable nuggets of wisdom that shape how they see the world, not only now, but into the future. My mission is the nurturing of the nature leaders of tomorrow, today. I recall my own education around the natural world. A plant was broken down into its component parts, its leaves, its roots, its stalk, its branches. A flower became a stamen, a pistil, a petal. These were dry facts to be regurgitated wholesale, without much imagination, onto an exam paper. These facts fitted neatly into the box that held my conditioning that there is no real connection between me and nature. It was not until I heard the music of the plants and being so affected by it that I began undoing that conditioning. Over a short space of time, I realized that through its music, the plant was communicating with me. Yes, communicating. This is something that I invite you to experience for yourself. As a student of metaphysics, my presentation to you is unashamedly metaphysical. While the science world argues over whether plants are intelligent, whether plant neurobiology is an acceptable term, whether plant personhood is a meaningful concept to be explored, and even whether we are actually in the Anthropocene, we are witnessing the devastating impacts of deforestation, soil degradation, and species die-off. We humans are a mere blip in the life of our Earth, existing for a millisecond of time compared to the over 400 million year existence of plant life. Yet we are responsible for the deforestation, soil degradation, and species die-off that we are witnessing at staggering rates. Plants have evolved to adapt and thrive. That is indisputable. When I think of what the plant world has witnessed over its long evolution, I wonder at the wisdom held within the DNA of plants. This is not as controversial an idea as it first sounds. Scientists accept that learned behaviors are demonstrated by plants, as in this experiment where a plant was trained to associate the sound of a fan with light, in much the same way that Pavlov's dog was trained to associate the sound of a bell with food. And what is a learned behavior that contributes to your survival, if not wisdom? What is the secret that allows a seed to know exactly when to sprout, that instructs a plant to grow towards the sun, or to shed its leaves and pull its energy inwards during the colder months, if not wisdom? And what can we learn from plant wisdom? A lot. While there is some competition and predation in the natural environment, the overarching activity in the plant world is one of communication, cooperation, and community, hence its survival exceeding over 400 million years. But even as we humans struggle with cooperation and community on a global scale and are yet to learn this from the plant world's example, we thankfully are waking up to the many benefits of mimicking many intrinsic traits of the plant world with design methodologies like biomimicry. Velcro was created by a Swiss electrical engineer. His inspiration derived from the burrs in burdock plants that stuck to his clothes and his dog's fur. The lotus effect, the water repellent and self-cleaning nature of the lotus leaf, has inspired waterproof and stain-resistant clothing. The lotus effect is being explored in the creation of self-cleaning, low-maintenance solar panels. And of course, solar panels are designed to absorb sunlight, as leaves do. A biological leaf that takes in carbon dioxide, water, and light, and releases oxygen holds potential to be used in space travel and for literally providing a breath of fresh air to indoor and outdoor spaces. The exterior of buildings and lampshades, for example, coated with a thin layer of the material, could exhale fresh air. But still, these fascinating facts around the wonder and wisdom in the plant world and how we can learn from that wonder and wisdom can still become the dry discourse that dictated my own education around the natural world. The wonderful people at Bioneers say it beautifully. Art and performance offer ways to communicate visions and strategies for transformative change in visceral ways that transcend dry discourse. When words alone seem to fall flat, art or music can at times communicate more effectively the burning need for a more nature-honoring, equitable society. Rather than asking graduate students interested in design to then look at and copy the design inherent in the natural world, wouldn't a better approach be to nurture children from an early age with exposure to the wisdom in nature, with they themselves being inspired to create design that sustains us and the natural environment? This calls for children to have an early connection with the natural environment that isn't conditioned out of them, and which they then need to be taught. I have spoken of how plant music affected me and the deep connection I now feel with plants. I personally believe that every child should not only hear plant music, but be encouraged to have and nurture over time a relationship with plants. This is the potential I see the music of the plants having within children's education. The term ecozoic era, which describes an era when humans live in a mutually enhancing relationship with Earth, was coined by Thomas Berry for his book, The Universe Story. I love that this term was coined by a priest, with his work inspired by the thought of another priest, Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. The spirituality of these men opened their minds to a greater understanding of our earth and our roles on it in a manner that science is yet to do. The music of the plants, as I mentioned, was created by an eco-spiritual community dedicated to reconnecting humanity with the plant world, reconnecting us to the plantness from which we evolved. I believe that it is in reconnecting with our plantness that we can enter into a mutually enhancing relationship with our earth, as Thomas Berry in his book urged us to do. We evolved and continue to evolve alongside the plants that nourish us. There is plantness in each of us. As Terence McKenna tells us, plants are the missing link in the search to understand the human mind and its place in nature. We have to rediscover our plantness. Thomas Berry also said, we get our instructions from visions and dreams. The ideas espoused by Berry are, of course, nothing new. Indigenous communities have always lived in mutually enhancing relationship with our earth. They tell us how the plants communicate with them through visions and dreams engineered by the plants themselves. While we cannot give our children ayahuasca or peyote or magic mushrooms, we can give them plant music. And speaking of ayahuasca, you may be aware that the indigenous communities who use ayahuasca as medicine sing songs as part of ceremony with ayahuasca, songs that they believe come directly through ayahuasca. They call these songs ikaru. The music is the medium through which they communicate with ayahuasca and other master plants. I am grateful for the voice of Robin Wall Kimmerer, herself a member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation, who invites us to reconsider our human-centric language by referring to other beings, animal and plant, as ki rather than it. While this concept and language seems strange to our Western minds and tongues at first, children so instructed will quickly adapt. A teacher who incorporates Kimmerer's braiding sweetgrass into her lessons asked her 7th grade students to reflect on the indigenous way of viewing trees as people. These were some of the students' responses. It would inspire us to learn more about trees. I would also feel closer and more connected to nature and life. I think this viewpoint would make our society less focused on consumption of things and more on protecting our environment and the wildlife in it. We could learn great wisdom from the trees because they have longer lifespans than humans and many other living things. Of course, that last response brought me a smile and much hope because, as I've been saying, I believe the plant world has a lot to teach us. And when asked to consider questions that they would ask the trees, these were some of the students' answers. Who, what inhabited this land when you were growing up? What have you seen in terms of change? What is your life story? What are the key events that you have witnessed in your lifetime? Do you love us? And this last one, when did the connection between humans and trees start to disappear? Do you know why? Do you think we'll ever regain that connection? I have experienced this innate connection to the natural world in children when I share the music of the plants with them. Remember this young lad? Within a few seconds of hearing grass music, he asked, "How do you feel about us walking on you? Does it hurt to be cut?" I wonder what a different world these future adults will create if they were continually exposed to the music of the plants, and if they were allowed to forge relationship with plants through the medium of music. I hope you are encouraged to wonder about these things too. The response I receive from the children inspires me to continue creating lessons, sharing the wonder and awe in nature with them. Apart from online lessons on the intelligence and nature, I'm working on an online course that cover, among other topics, our language around the natural world, how scientific study is catching up with indigenous wisdom, and how the work of scientists like Monica Galliano, Stefano Mancuso, and others like them is challenging long-held scientific belief. If the ideas I have explored today pique your interest, I would love to have a conversation with you. I am open to collaborations in bringing plant music to children, to discussing some ideas I have around how this can be done. Former First Lady of America, Lady Bird Johnson, said, "The environment is where we all meet, where we have a mutual interest. It is one thing we all share. It is not only a mirror of ourselves, but a focusing lens on what we can become. On what we can become." I personally believe that the plants are nurturing us, waiting for us to become like them, if not in appearance, at least in the way they have evolved to thrive and to contribute to the greater whole. Who knows? Perhaps in time we will evolve to eat light. Wouldn't that solve a lot of issues? In the meantime, I am doing what I can to nurture the future adults who will see the natural environment in a completely different light to that which I have done for most of my life. We are either limited or unlimited by our views. It is a blessing that children see our world with unlimited vision. Let us help our children tap into the vast wisdom of the plant world. Let us help them to help us live in an ecozoic era. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was very, very interesting. And I love the questions that the kids had. It's something we never think about, to say, does it hurt?
Yes.
And it's funny because, I think there's a dilemma has always been going on. Do plants feel? And we've been saying this forever. Do they actually feel? And
do they think?
do they
Do they have memory?
Oh,
And what's really interesting in the scientific world right now is all the research that's going on into these very topics, and the research that is coming out. It's really, really fascinating, and there's so much to teach children. Scientists, as I intimated in the presentation, are now waking up to the wisdom that indigenous communities, they've now found a way of scientifically proving what indigenous communities have told us for millennia.
Correct. But how do you think we can start getting this into, give it more attention? I mean, we do have people going after the environment from the perspective of just saving trees, but you're taking it to a whole different level. We're not just saving trees for the sake of saving trees. You're actually saying the trees are part of our existence, our life, and they're also communicating with us. And we're
Absolutely.
not listening.
Yeah, as I said, we have this disconnect between ourselves and nature, and I think that's our conditioning. We see the natural world around us as a resource, as something to exploit, and it's very, very easy to say, oh, we're going to do something to save the trees and we're going to save the environment. I think the message that is missing is that we're not saving the trees, we're not saving the environment, we're really saving ourselves. Because without that environment, there is no us, there are no humans. And something that I always want to stress to people is that no matter what we do to the earth, earth will survive, earth will recover. That is what nature does. Nature thrives.
Yes.
Yeah. There are so many interesting concepts around this. There are people who have the idea that plants, if humanity does not have a collective reawakening to our connection to the natural world, the plants may very well evolve to rid humanity of humans. There are already poisonous plants. What if they all became poisonous? What if we weren't able to eat? Um, you know, it's just a fascinating topic to explore.
Barbara says, I love that no matter what we do, Earth will survive.
Absolutely, the Earth will survive without us. The Earth does not need us. We are reliant on Earth.
I mean,
And, there's just so much to learn. Karina, as you know, I'm working on this online course where I'm actually showing the kids the wisdom and how if we fashioned the everyday items that we use in our lives on how plants adapt to their environment,
right,
we will be living our lives in a much more sustainable way.
right,
We will be living our lives without that huge impact, that negative impact that we've had since the Industrial Revolution.
right.
We need a very swift turnaround. Otherwise, we're not going to be around for much longer.
That is true. But it's funny because you're talking about how technology and innovation is looking at plants and how it function and then recreating this into, this world. And it's just, and I've been seeing a lot of commercials. Actually, I even go on myself. We're talking about air purifiers. I mean, you don't have to spend money on an air purifier. Just get a couple of plants and put it around your house. They do the
Exactly.
job of cleaning the,
Yes.
the air, not just give you oxygen. They're actually cleaning the pollux, whatever. It does clean, the air. So why are we not promoting more, get more plants in your house? It's
Because
natural.
then, the
Electricity, there's
company that
no,
creates air purifiers, they're not going to make money, right? So, I mean, it's a whole paradigm shift that we need. And, people may say, well, okay, indigenous communities have lived in a certain way for however long, but we're a modern society and we need to exist in a different way. We're actually coming full circle
I
back to
think so
that.
too.
Yeah, we are.
My trajectory is, advancing the evolution of, human potential and spirit consciousness. But what I'm seeing in this evolutionary world is we're kind of going back to the beginning. We're going back to
Absolutely.
minimalism. We're going back to appreciating more what we have that's free because we don't even appreciate the air that we have. And again, we cannot have air. I mean, have they figured out how to make air yet? That's the one thing they haven't figured out. Only
Well,
the
it's only
plants
the
can do
plants
that
that are
for us.
helping us to breathe, right? We
It's
would
the
not, we
plants
not
that
would not
make
be able to breathe.
it's
Yeah.
the one thing they haven't figured out.
Yeah.
They ever
Something
figured
that
out.
I do want to mention though, I wasn't aware of at the time that I did this presentation way back in April at the University of Cologne. Um, the Heart Math Institute, you guys may have heard of them. They are actually working on technology to help us hear the trees. I was just amazed because we seem to be in a
Here,
collective
to hear,
consciousness
you said to hear
to
the
hear. Yeah, they are. If you sign up for their program, they would provide you with a device that you put with your, like a chosen tree. And then you can see the electrical impulses of that tree on your computer screen. So
Mhm.
it's just a different technology, whereas with the music of the plants, it's converted into musical notes. That is something, their technology is something that you would actually see on your computer screen. So I feel that we're part of this consciousness that is evolving. There is something that is telling us that we need to reconnect with the natural world, get that connection that we've lost. And different people are doing it in different ways, which is very, very encouraging.
And we have the people who are connected with their plants, and I'm one of those who will walk by and touch them, just a little touch and just say hi and
Mm,
have a conversation. And I know it's been done a research before where it's like people having a pet and you talk to you pet a pet and it helps with all your systems slowing down and calming your anxiety. Well, it also does the same thing with a plant because the plant do pick up on our energy. And we do
Absolutely.
pick up on their energy as well. But
Vismaya, I'm so happy to hear that you talk to your plants.
oh, Miss Maya, thank you. We didn't realize we're on. Thank you for coming. Yeah, right. So when you talk to your plants, it's like you have company in your house because they are. I mean, have you ever missed a day of not giving them water and all of a sudden you see them drooping? How bad do you feel? I'm like, oh my goodness. I have a story when I back, in college when I was living in New York, and I had a cactus. I mean, how much water does a cactus need? And but I was on vacation and I left someone in charge of all my plants, and I had a lot of plants. And every Saturday morning we had a ritual, and all my plants, and we all go and we get hose them, not we, I mean the plants, hose them down, and it was a moment with that music, and that was my time with my plants. But I'm on vacation. I think it was a week or two, and I was like, give the plants water. And I came back, and my plants were not doing well. And I got upset, and I said, "Why did you not give my plants water?" And they said, "We did." And then it hit me. I went, oh my goodness, I'm sorry. Were you guys missing me? And a plant will
It
show
wasn't the
you they
same,
do
yes.
miss you if you give them attention. And we also know in metaphysics, instead of taking energy from people and being those energy vampires, go to your plants. They love the attention and they will give you that attention. And we can build up our energy force through our plants and being out in nature. And again, grounding by being on the grass. So yeah, it's very much needed. Very much needed.
Very, very much needed. And I want to talk to the children about the intelligence that is there, how plants adapt to their environment, and how there are so many solutions that are coming for us to have a much more sustainable existence through the study of plants. So just one example that comes to my mind is that there's this fruit that's called the marbleberry, and the most plants would rely on pigments for their color. Okay, so the fruit is the pigments, but the marbleberry uses a very, very unique way of having a really striking color, and it's because of the structure of their outer layer. So it's very, very different to any other plant. And by studying this, scientists are now creating more sustainable paints and more sustainable, coatings for surfaces that would be damaged by sunlight. And even like the glitter that we have that is, toxic and not very good for the environment, they could make, something that is much more eco-friendly just by studying the structure of a fruit, how it obtains its remarkable, very striking color, and then use it for things that we are using now and will continue to need, but using much more eco-friendly and sustainable ways of doing it. So we're preserving our earth just by learning from the plants. We're preserving our home by learning from the plants.
If think about it, everything about nature is everything about our evolution comes from nature. I mean, planes is because they observe how birds fly, and boats and stuff, how fish swim, and I mean, most of our health, all the pharmaceuticals, it's all coming from plants.
From plants, yes,
so
absolutely.
our whole evolution is based on what nature and earth has been doing forever, or just
millennia,
being.
yes.
I mean, remember, they're being. They're not doing anything. They're just being. We're the ones trying to keep up with them and trying to live their life. We're really just trying to live their peaceful, calm, ease-looking life. And so that's. I think Vismaya had a question, and
she's asking why glitter is dangerous. It's very toxic for the environment, Vismaya. The production process is not very good in itself, but then I mean the glitter is not bioavailable. It's not like easily decomposed. So it just goes into the earth or end up in the ocean. So it's very toxic.
What is glitter made from? I mean, I don't know, some kind of a
Well,
metal.
this is the thing. We do not, like we do not question what is this made from and what effect will it have. So like we release balloons into the air and we don't think that these things end up in the ocean, and they kill the sea life. So we do so many things and we do not think about the impact. We do not think of the process that has been used to create them. We don't think of the number of things that are ending up in landfill that will just not decompose. They will be there for thousands and thousands of years. So we do need a turnaround, and it's very encouraging that biomimicry is now, like a developing science where they're actually looking at the life of Earth, how Earth exists, and mimicking that for solutions for things that we use in our lives.
I do have to say though, you have to admire nature for, and you see this all over where they clear a place and they build a house or a building or whatever. And the minute you abandon it, they take over.
Yes.
You see them growing
Yes.
on roofs, they
Mm,
building and they just, they take over. So it's like, they're saying, we'll be patient, we'll sit back, you do what you gotta do. We're taking it back over. And they will,
exactly.
and this is like when they go and they fill in landfills to build, and Mother Nature says, yeah, that's mine. And water's gonna come, you're gonna have sinkholes, whatever. And this is where I think humanity as a whole have to start really paying attention,
Mm,
because Mother Nature is always going to come back and claim what's hers.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there's so much to learn. I mean, there's buildings that are being constructed using, Earth's, like nature's design. There's, I think it's called the Esplanade Theatre in Singapore. I may have that not quite right, but it's definitely Esplanade is in there. And they have used the structure of the durian fruit to create like the openings in the building. And what happens is that the building, they're able to, the shutters that they've put or the louvers that they've put will follow the light. So then the building can get natural light.
Nice.
Yeah. And then there's air flowing, so there's just so much to learn if we just look at how nature has evolved and the solutions that are there for us.
I think I was watching a documentary or the History Channel, and I think it was, I don't know if it's the Ford cars, whatever, but they created a car made completely out of cannabis plants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's very strong, and I thought, well, how cool is that? I mean, not metals but plants. I mean, of course, the
Mm.
problem was they were being stopped because it always smelled. But that's to show you there are plants that has really thick fiber that could be used for so much more.
Mm.
But again, the controversy is, do we plant them? Do we, again, do we kill the plants to create this? And it's
Mm.
always, again, like you said, it's all about the resource, and all resource comes from Earth. And it's all about us trying to make a better life for humanity in general. And yeah, it's that tugging and pulling. But I do believe that reaching children, I think it would help so much with anxiety and mental health, and just being able to step away from the chaos, the chaotic world we live in, the constant doing, 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 achieving, 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 when you can have a moment to just be in nature and, do work within nature. It feels very different sitting in a restricted classroom and you can't move and you can't talk than, on the video where they're sitting on the floor doing the same work. But now it's in such a more relaxed environment. The mind picks up more information. It stays more with you because it's more pleasant learning.
Mm.
It's more pleasant learning. It makes a very difference. Do you have anything you want to say? additional here, and anything, any kind of invitation, call to action?
Well, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's here today. If you know anybody who is involved in children's education, homeschooling parents, teachers who are looking for just, something new and different to bring into their classrooms, please just have them reach out to me. I would love to talk to anybody in those fields. I have a personal belief that the music of the plants would be very, very, very beneficial to children who are on the spectrum. Of course, I have no proof of that, but it's just something that I have a knowing about. And I would really like to connect with anybody who would be open to experimenting with the music of the plants in that regard.
That's really great. That's an amazing, and I kind of agree with you. I think there is something there for that. Experience with that was the day I visited you, and it was playing in the background. So the music was playing in the background, and I thought it was a radio or music in the background. And I'm always, sometimes I'm very hyper, and I came in because I was excited to share something with you. And I got there and we were like talking, and the music started escalating, and you finally said, Karina, hold on. She goes, I just want to let you know that you got my plant really, really excited. And I said, that's what it is. I said, yeah. And I started going, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for too much energy, and the plant kind of went, do, 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 do. And then after a while, it went quiet. And I said, what happened? She goes, I think you got my plant tired. The plant went still and just relax. And I went, that's okay. Sometimes I know my energy goes up, and but it was interesting because it reacted.
Of
It
course,
reacted to
yes.
the energy that came into the room.
Mm.
As I calmed down, so did the music calm down. So it's interesting to see how they actually interact with us and how energetically we are sharing each other's energy. So fun, fun, fun. Thank you, everyone. Again, thank you, Nandini, for coming on to Transform Masterclass. It was a real
Thank you. Thank you
pleasure
for this
having you
opportunity.
on. Very educational and informative, and I hope your journey connects you with the right people.